Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Thursday, August 22nd. Getting closer to the end of the month. I noticed yesterday when we were out doing, we had to go into town and pick up a part for a tiller that I didn't have the belt and I didn't want to wait for it. So, where else to go? To our local automobile shop that sells belts and our friends. And he was even like, Eric, you can get it a lot cheaper than I can. The owner, Charles. I said, yeah, but if I order just this, I'm going to have to pay $14 just to have it shipped from wherever, unless I can get an order up to a certain amount where it's worthwhile. I said, well, it makes sense. But what I did see was our trees are starting to turn. Fall is in the air. I mean, I've had my long underwear on now for 2 days. Supposed to be in the upper 70s today, but it's coming, folks. All right, so what's the topic for today? Topic for today is what is going on with John Deere and farmers and the right to repair. All right, so hang tight. Alrighty, welcome back. Yes, it is. It is Thursday. This is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is the 22nd of August. Available on podcast as well. So, why am I talking about John Deere again? What does John Deere and the right to repair and farmers have to do with the channel? Because the channel is, for do-it-yourselfers, a small engine repair. But we also work on tractors, okay? And I'm also a farmer. And I've always kind of supported John Deere, Not so much, I supported John Deere because it was an American-made company. But I also because of the quality. And even better, the dealership locally, I grew up with the boys that their dad owned it. And I think that's what makes a dealership is the one behind the helm and not just because it's Deere. Don't get me wrong, John Deere's got it figured out. They've always tried to monopolize. So if you wanted a John Deere, it used to be you had to go see a John Deere dealer, right? And I felt bad for the dealers at the time when they decided to open the door to the likes of the big box stores carrying a lesser quality, supposedly, than what they were making for dealerships. But they made a deal with the local dealership, which I guess if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But here, we'll give you a little tidbit. The mowers will come into you on a tractor trailer. You put them together, and we'll pay you to put them together and deliver them to your local Lowe's dealerships. Wow. Well, thank you so much, But, even earlier on, one of the biggest money makers for John Deere wasn't their own product. What do you think it was? They were trying to get into the market for where the consumer didn't want to pay much. And thus came out the Sabre. Everybody was jumping on it. Oh, I bought a John Deere and it was a lot less than the regular ones. And it wasn't even that dark green, all right? It was a light green. What they didn't know is you're not buying John Deere quality. you're getting an MTD product. The MTD made in for John Deere. And the same thing when they wanted to enter the snow section. Aaron's was making snowblowers for them. And how do I know that? Because when a John Deere snowblower came in, I ordered parts through Aaron's or for Aaron's machine, because that's what it was. It was a Aaron's machine painted green with John Deere stickers on it. But Aaron's was always quality, like simplicity, and John Deere. So that brings us to what's really going on with John Deere now and farmers. It's kind of right now with the big guys, because they have all this high-tech equipment. Everything from GPS guidance systems to, electronics to computer-operated things that are going on within that tractor, combine, what have you, all right? And they're not willing to allow the farmers to be able to fix their own. No. That the only ones that can fix it and have access to what's going on computer-wise is a John Deere dealer. And they want you to bring that back to the dealer every time. And if you got crops in the field and they're ready to harvest, and your machine is sitting at John Deere dealership, and it's going to be a month out, what the hell do you do? Because they don't have time, because they're working on everybody else's crap. Then you start to, farmers started going out and doing just like everybody else. They found, hacks out there that they could take and use to hack the John Deere site to be able to make certain changes. And then a group of them got together and started lawsuits against John Deere for the right to repair. If they're going to pay $500,000, $700,000 for a tractor, they want the computer system fixes and access to it, since they own it. And John Deere says, no, this proprietary, we own it, and we're not giving that part up. Because, I can understand some of it. They're afraid that someone's going to take their property rights of how they do things on those systems that they've paid for to have developed, and then just freely give it away to every other dealership to compete with them, or China. But what do you think? Is it right or wrong? It kind of comes down to pharmaceuticals, right? And how they've dealt with things in the past. It's like, I said there yesterday, we should have a cure for cancer. We should probably do. This is, off in left field a little bit. But I think we've had the cures for a lot of these illnesses. But pharmaceuticals are making so much money from it that they're buying up the cures to keep the money coming in. And pharmaceuticals, because they say that they have so much money, in R&D, and that they get the rights to have the only one to sell the what we call OEM, all right, for I think it's 8 or 10 years. And then after that period of time, then they have to give up the ingredients that go in it so that generics can pick it up. And at that point, Most pharmaceuticals have made millions of dollars on each pill, each group of pills or whatever. But it's like John Deere. John Deere doesn't want to give you the OEM. They want their own, and then you're probably having access to stuff that's 5-10 years old because the way technology's going crazy, right? It's going leaps and bounds really fast. The stuff that on the older equipment, I would assume they'll let go, and then anything new they'll keep for 5-10 years. But who's right in all of this? Is it right for John Deere to say that? I mean, consumers have feet, okay? And if John Deere is saying to the farmers, look, we're not going to give you the the way into the computer system on our equipment. Only John Deere dealers have access to it. We're keeping it very tight-lipped and, yada, yada, yada. Now you can do one of two things. One, suck it up, buttercup, and take it to your John Deere dealership. What's the other? Take your little feet and walk to a different dealership. John Deere isn't the only one that's making the big equipment for these huge ass farms. You got Adco, Alchammer, or is it Deutz Alice? You got Ford New Holland. You got Case IH. You got Kloss. The list goes on and on. And if it were me and I was investing $500,000 into a tractor, I want full access to it. If not, that tractor should be only worth $200,000, and you keep the thing. So I've got another $300,000 of repairs that can be done. But during the harvest season, my machine better not be down. That's the way it is. And John Deere will charge you, the dealerships will charge you to come get that tractor and take it to them. Or you have to find a way to get it onto a little boy tractor trailer, for the size of them, right? So what does that got to do with us? Well, the technology is starting to come out to where you're starting to see it on the small engines, on the riding lawnmowers, push mowers, and all that they're pushing more towards, having a computer CDI box type thing that's running the system. And what's happening with the bigger farmers is, let's say a starter goes up on their tractor, all right? Now, if they go out and they buy whatever, even an OEM John Deere starter, and they put it onto that tractor, that computer has to be rebooted, and it has to be shown that the starter that failed is now out of the system, and the new starter is in and operating the way it should within the certain parameters. Farmers can't do that. They fixed the starter, but now the machine still won't run right because there's no way to reboot it. It used to be if you undid the battery cables. And like with cars, you have to reset your things. But you're not actually rebooting the whole car. You're just resetting the idiot lights that came on to tell you something's wrong, right? What is that going to do in our field? I mean, as repairmen that are not John Deere dealerships, we won't have the ability to work on any of that. We may know how to fix something, But if we don't have access to get into the system to reboot, set parameters, and show the new part was installed, and let the system merge it in so that everything is running smoothly, we won't be able to touch it. And that would be one of the biggest reasons I would have if I were a homeowner or a farmer, is I would look at that. Can my local repair guy fix it if I have problems? Or do I have to pay John Deere rate to get it done? And this could come right down to a simple service in the spring. If you do a service on a lawnmower and you don't have any way to reset the system internally to tell the system that you installed a new oil filter, fuel filter, all this other stuff, so that it can recalibrate itself and reset itself, then it may never run right until John Deere technicians plug their computer into it and do all those parameters, is what I'm getting at. Is it right? No. Does John Deere have the right to do it? Yes. Absolutely. Pharmaceuticals have been doing it for years. They're trying to protect their, copyrighted, patented rights. Because now on the new tractors, it's less to do about the parts and more about the computer system running all those parts. I watched a video there with a farmer that had a GPS John Deere system, and it was 8 or 10 years old, fully functional. But they discontinued the software for that. So when they updated the tractors to a newer tractor, they couldn't use that GPS system. They had to buy a new one, an updated version that was supported in that software group for that tractor. I mean, I have nothing against John Deere, okay? I am not for or against. At one time, I had 18 John Deere tractors, everything dating back to the 1950s. I was a collector. But at one point in my life, I said, use it or lose it. And I got tired of just bringing the girls out in the springtime, going through them all, getting them all running again, and, basically, and then putting them back in the fall for the winter. They didn't get used. They didn't get, like they should. So I got rid of them. But to this day, I still have 3 John Deeres that I run mainly in my farming operation. And they're all pre-computer, all right? And we're working on a John Deere 401B right now that it's the transmission pump. And in order to fix the transmission pump, you have to split it 3 different spots so that the transmission is hanging by itself. We would not be able to do that if it was on a newer one that had the computer system on it. Only John Deere. So if I'm in that realm, Case IH makes a good big machine. Kloss is really coming onto the market. They're from overseas somewhere. Ford New Holland. I mean, all the big players are doing it, but are not claiming proprietorship over the systems. So on that note, I'm going to end the video for today, but just gives you something more to think about of what is coming in the future, the good, bad, and the ugly, right? So on that note, you guys have a great Thursday. And let me know in the comments, what do you think when it comes to that, when it comes to working on vehicles, that you can't work on a vehicle in your local auto shop because it has to be diagnosed and fixed with, if it's a Chevy car, Chevy only, you know, dealership computer system and not yours. Have a great Thursday. We'll see you here bright and early tomorrow morning.